Welcome to the Rising Phoenix Rise, Recover and Rebuild podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Demiri, founder of Create Again, Breakup, Mindset and Life Coaching. A large number of people are either thinking about separating, are in the middle of a separation, or are already divorced. Chances are that you're in one of those categories, and if not, know someone that is. While separation and divorce is a normal part of life, there's still a stigma attached, and no one really talks about what it is like to go through this experience, and even less what to do to rebuild yourself. I will be interviewing mothers and business owners, lawyers, and a variety of other people I believe can provide some tips and insight into their lives, and I'm certain you will be able to relate to some of it. If you feel that anything in today's episode resonates with you, make sure to book your 30-minute complimentary session with me today. I would love the opportunity to be part of your rebuilding journey. But now let's get started with today's guest.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. I am extremely excited to be welcoming my first guest on the Rising Phoenix podcast today, and my very first guest is Kristy Hunter. She's a creative entrepreneur, the owner of a successful boutique marketing and brand agency in Brisbane, and is a very proud and hands-on solo parent of 13-year-old twin boys. Her life is very full and a constant juggling act. She freely admits that she never gets the balance quite right, but she'll die trying. Kristy has always been a strong and independent woman, but going through a divorce changed her and children's lives forever. After nearly 5 years since her divorce, she's still going through the journey of self-discovery and personal development. She is striving to be the best version of herself, not just for her sake, but for those closest to her, and believes the best years of her life are yet to come. I first met Kristy at a Zoom networking event in 2020 and was drawn to her. I had just started with the initial planning of Create Again and knew I wanted a professional marketing agency to look after my marketing plan, and reached out to her. We really hit it off, and through our conversations, I found out that Kristy herself would have been my ideal client when she went on her journey. Besides her now being one of the biggest supporters in my business in many areas, especially the marketing process, we connected, and she connected me also with her amazing team. But the best thing is that we now also became friends, and I would say she's one of my biggest cheerleaders when it comes to my business. I'm extremely grateful for this friendship, and also extremely grateful to have her with me today and welcome her as my very first guest on the Rising Phoenix podcast. Welcome, Kristy.
Oh, thank you, Jen. What a lovely intro. That made me feel really good and warm inside. It was so lovely. Thank you so much. I feel very welcome.
Yeah, thank you for coming today. When I obviously started talking about this podcast for the very first time, I just knew I wanted you on here. And as I said, I'm so grateful that you agreed to be my very first interviewed guest. So thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure. You know me. If I can help you in any way I can, then I will jump. Yes. And I just thought it would be fun to do with you anyway. So, yeah. Awesome. Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. So I guess let's get started straight away. So as per the intro, it has been about 5 years since your divorce. Now, How did it all come about? What were some of the factors that led to the separation?
Well, look, I think it goes back to the fact that we were together very, very young. We were kind of high school sweethearts, and then, just naturally just progressed and thought, well, we're going to be together forever. So we got married really young, even though I didn't want to have kids early on. At that point, I just knew that I wanted to be with him forever. And I think there was a level of maybe immaturity. I mean, as much as we thought we were really mature at the time, and, just, I suppose, not experiencing life in a lot of ways, So it was certainly, our parents were like, are you sure? We had their support. We probably didn't have them saying, look, this is how it might be if you did get married so young. So I think looking back, not that I place blame anywhere, but I think I would have loved for my parents to go, you know what, this is what it, is. These are the challenges, and be realistic about, you know, what marriage is all about. I think I had, you know, being 18 when I got engaged, I had this fairy tale thing in my head. So that played a huge part. And then just over the years, we became different people. And, you know, he was on his path with his career, and I was in this creative world where, you know, things were a little bit looser. He was a bit more traditional. And I just started to realize that our personalities were, just a little bit different. And what we wanted out of life was a little bit different. I knew that I wanted to have kids, and I thought, well, you know what, like, let's just continue on this path. And then that was a struggle. We went through IVF. I was 27, 28, and we'd been trying for a year or two, and it just was very hard on me. At the time, I just was going through the motions of it, because I've always just been this strong person and not overly emotional, I would say, either. So I was like, this is what I want to do, and you just got to go through what you need to get to where we want to be. And that was obviously me as a mum and him as a father. And we ended up having twin boys. And then again, that was just a struggle, like newborn twins. You know, my life was kind of turned upside down going through, you know, having a career, and then, you know, I wanted to spend at least 2 years at home because I wanted to have that quality time with them. But then I felt like I kind of lost my sense of self in there as well. And our connection then diminished as well. You know, we were just in that whole, what do we need to do next? Like, we were in kind of survival mode, you know, like he was the breadwinner. He wanted to make sure he was providing. I was just always at home, like in that whole, okay, well, we've got a routine of, you know, they wake up, we change nappies, we have a play, they nap. So it was this ongoing cycle of like, oh my God, what is this life now for me? And I missed that human contact, that adult contact of, you know, being at work and using my brain. And so there was so much going on. And, you know, I think he thought he knew, but like he's not experiencing it. He didn't experience it. So you don't really have an idea of what, you know, your partner's going through when that happens. So a lot going on with all of that. And we did get to a point where, you know, I was like, okay, I can get some of my life back. I started going to the gym. I got a part-time job. That was great, but still felt like I was doing so much at home, you know. And I felt like I didn't have a life outside of my family. So again, there was challenges around, well, look, I wanted to go out on a weekend because I hadn't done anything for, you know, a week. And so he used to kind of rein me back in and go, no, it's family time. We've got to spend time with the children on the weekend, because he hadn't really seen them all week. But in reality, I think looking back, you know, there's probably things that I would have tried to be, I don't know, a bit clear on about what I wanted and needed. And I think it just got worse from there, really. The communication at the time, I thought I was communicating things. I suppose he thought he was as well. But I think in reality, we held a lot in because of, you know, that feeling of fear. You know, what would that person think or do? Or, you know, what would it mean for our relationship? So, yeah, so many things in there. And plus a couple of redundancies in there as well for me, you know, going back to work and being made redundant. So lots of stressful things over, you know, a good 5 years or so. And yeah, just a really challenging time for me, and him as well, no doubt about it. You know, I think he tried to, you know, work a lot just to make sure that he was doing his best for us, but also just forgetting about me in there. You know, I would make a huge effort in trying to have date nights and things like that, but he would just go, you know what, I can't be bothered, I'm tired. And there was a bit of passive aggression from his end, and you know, some nasty things here and there, like in terms of, you know, words he'd use. And I would make an effort, you know, try to buy him gifts or little things on the weekend. I knew he'd, you know, liked a couple of, you know, sweets and foods, you know, things that he used to like. I used to think, well, that's a easy thing to kind of, you know, buy and then bring home and make him happy. And, you know, he'd be like, oh, okay, thanks. And it was never kind of reciprocated, you know. So I kind of felt like I was doing a lot, putting a lot of the effort in and not really getting anything back. So, yeah, just lots and lots of things over time, you know, over the 20 years that we were together anyway.
Yeah. And you were saying earlier as well, like holding back and doing communication. So sometimes you just didn't voice what you wanted or what you needed. And I hear that a lot with my clients as well. That is probably one of the biggest factors, not really communicating and being really scared of communicating something because you feel like you may be stepping on the other person's toes while you put your own needs on a back burner, which are as important as the other person's needs.
Yeah, and I think for me, you know, I got to the point where I got sick of, excuse me, trying because I would try to communicate things and nothing would ever change. And maybe it was how I was communicating. I think that's the thing. I don't know if I had the skills to work out, well, how can I broach this thing in a diplomatic way or a way that he will understand rather than him thinking that I'm just attacking him. So that's probably the biggest things that I've learned since separation, that I've got to work on myself and how I communicate effectively so the other person understands, or I could put myself in their shoes and, you know, and think, well, how would they feel if I said this thing? So, yeah, I think I could have potentially worked on that stuff a little bit better. But, you know, I think we would have ended up being in the same place, if I'm honest.
And, you know, sometimes, as I like to say, things are meant to be in a certain way. People are meant to be in your life for a certain time to teach you a particular lesson or, you know, get to where you are meant to be today. So as sad as it sometimes is that a relationship breaks down, I do strongly believe that there's a particular reason for it and it teaches us a lot.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and you just touched on that a little bit in terms of some takeaways that you've made following the separation or following the relationship. What are sort of your biggest takeouts that you have taken from this relationship into your future relationships or even friendships?
Yeah, I do think it's that communication aspect, but also patience. Kind of sitting back and just listening to that other person and what their needs are, and I guess understanding them as a person better. I think we're all really quick to kind of talk about ourselves and just kind of, I guess, put ourselves first a lot of the time. But in any good relationship, it needs to go both ways. You know, you need to put the effort in and make sure that you're understanding, you know, the needs of your friend, your partner, your son, understand where they're sitting in the world. And I think once you do that and really listen and take in what they're saying, you know, that just makes everything a little bit different, I think, you know, in how you respond and behave. You know, and moving forward in a relationship with whoever, you know, communicating with, I think that's really key to have a fantastic relationship, is having the ability to be empathetic.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. And especially that component that you were talking about in, you know, we are all putting our own needs first, and to a degree that is absolutely important to put your own needs first, but on the other hand, the other person is trying to do exactly the same thing. They're trying to put their needs first, and their needs that they want to put first are not necessarily the ones that you want to put first. So you are coming together as two separate individuals into this relationship. So, you know, yes, there might need to be compromises made, and you can only really understand if you communicate properly and effectively and really listen. And what do they say? You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So, you know, there's a reason for that. You can listen with 2 ears. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very important takeaway. So thank you for that.
That's okay.
Now, I think what I would really like to know is what sort of helped you through the separation? What was most helpful in terms of, I don't know, support, or what helped you learn those lessons a little bit more following the separation?
Well, I think firstly, I had a core group of really close friends who helped me from the beginning of the separation. I had a workmate who was she would just drop everything for me. And she was, oh gosh, she was young at the time, but the fact that she kind of understood to a degree, and just kind of stepped in and went, you know what, I'll help you move. I'll do all these things, get you where you need to be, a place where you're feeling, comfortable. And my brother, my younger brother, who was kind of I wouldn't say involved, but my ex involved him because he kind of placed blame on my brother with some of it. But I think he thought my brother knew everything and encouraged me to leave and all that kind of thing. So because my brother was there, he was obviously there supporting me, and we're really close. So he was always going to be there for me, which was lovely. And we ended up moving out together, and we still live together after 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It just works. We understand each other really well. And another friend of mine who was I went to high school with him. We actually dated for 2 months in year 9. It's just hilarious. He's married. He's got a beautiful family. I love them to bits. But he, again, was just incredible for me, helped me move, and would, call me, and, I would cry and he'd listen, and a couple of other people as well that I'm actually not really close with now, but it's interesting how things progress over time. And my family were good. But I don't think they really understood what I was going through. And I probably didn't always show it either. I think I internalized a lot. And again, I think it just comes back to me feeling like I'm a strong, independent woman, and I don't need all these people dropping their lives for me. And I've kind of felt bad if they had to do that as well. But I think what I did learn is that, you need to ask for help, and I still struggle with that, actually, asking for help. I'm learning, particularly my partner. He just like, I'm not going to ask you anymore. I'm just going to do that thing for you. So, because I know you won't ask. It was a challenging time, that's for sure. And I think having those people supporting me was amazing. But I will say I did a lot of it on my own as well.
Yeah. And I can relate to that. I mean, I had amazing people in my life that helped me through it, and some are still part of it and some are unfortunately not. But again, that is the circle of life sometimes. But I had to do that on my own. Yeah, and I think that's changed me as a person as well, like over the last 5 years, where I was in that separation and divorce to where I am now, significantly changed as a person, and have worked out, well, what do I actually want out of my life? Yeah. Who do I actually want to be surrounding myself with? Who can I give value to, and vice versa? And if you kind of don't fit into that, well, so be it, I suppose. Sounds a bit harsh, but I think life is too short to, have relationships that just don't work for whatever reason. Yeah. And they do say you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So, and I do strongly believe that. Times where I have surrounded myself with people that are not in alignment with where I want to go.
Yeah.
It's certainly changed my vibration. And I can really agree with that. So,
yeah.
Beautiful. Now, is there any support that you would have really liked during that time? I know that you said you struggle asking for help, but is there anything in particular you think that could have helped you work through certain things quicker, or is there anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking back on the whole, you know, when I was going through the legalities of divorce and all of that with my family lawyer, there should have been something in there that you know, she could have gone, you know what, are you okay? It was very clinical, that whole experience for me, and I felt supported knowing that, you know, she was trying to get the best deal for me, even though I walked away not getting the best deal. I think if she had said, hey, we have these services that we can refer you to, such as a counsellor or someone that can help with your finances, you know, that kind of thing would have helped me massively, because I was kind of out on my own working out, well, who do I go see to get support? And the people that I did see, or businesses that I thought were going to be very beneficial, just ended up being terrible experiences. And I've walked away going, why would I put myself through that again? I didn't feel supported. I felt attacked. I felt like I don't know what they were trying to achieve out of the sessions. You know, I didn't feel like there was any compassion for me as a human. And because, you know, my ex went into a really deep and dark depression, and there was scary times, thinking that he would, well, who knows, you know, right, where that could have gone. So there was a lot of guilt there because I made the decision to leave, and, you know, he wasn't coping. And so I would go to these counsellors and say, look, this is what's happening here. I feel guilt, you know. So they kind of put it back on, well, are you being compassionate, like, towards him, and what are you doing for him? And I'm like, what? Like, this is not why I'm here. It's like, I'm here to tell you the story, to, you know, talk about what's happening in my world, but I want support. I want to know what I need to do to get into a better place, because there was certainly times where I was in dark places and many people didn't know that. You know, I just managed through. Like, I would be walking around like a zombie and, you know, just going through life, and people didn't really know that I was in a really bad place, because I'm like, I'll just get through it. So I think definitely there's a lot of organisations out there that I would not recommend to women going through this kind of thing. I think I said to you that if I had known, you know, about coaches, you know, people that do what you do, that would be a much better fit for me, because there is that understanding and compassion and empathy and no judgment. I felt very judged with these counsellors. And then the other side of that is the financial stuff. I would absolutely have loved support, or knowing what kind of path to take with my finances, because I got, you know, a little bit of money from that separation. But then I go, well, what do I do with it? And, you know, soon after the divorce went through, I got made redundant again. And so it was such a stressful time. And I think having that support of, like, knowing what to do with my financial situation would be so helpful.
And yeah, that's why I do what I do, because I pretty much offer and support in all those areas that you were just mentioning. So because of the feedback that I have received from people, but also going through my own journey. And next week's podcast episode is actually with Amy from Bespoke Family Lawyers, and she has a very holistic approach to the whole, separation and divorce. So I wish there would be more family lawyers like her. So you should definitely listen to that as well.
But I definitely will. And I urge anyone who's going through separation just to make contact as soon as possible. And I'm not saying that by doing that you'd fast track, your personal development or anything like that, but these people are so important, to help you through those hard times. But yeah, definitely. I think it's an amazing thing that Amy's doing all that, and what you're doing. It's needed.
Thank you. I think there are some really good takeaways from this as well. It's important to get the right support, not just support for the sake of getting it. It's important to get the right support. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Yeah. Now, one more question I have for you is, how has starting your business helped you following your separation? I mean, you have talked about a fair bit of redundancy, so you must have been sick of the world of being employed. So, yeah, how has that helped you?
Yeah.
How has that changed you?
Yeah. Look, that has having my own business has changed me forever. It's after the last corporate world disaster that I was in, I just was like, I can't handle this anymore. What do I do with my life? And I was lucky at the time. I had a friend who was a web developer, and he had sold some marketing services. And he's like, I'm a little bit over my head with this. Do you want to kind of take over? And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So I started the freelancing world. And again, I was a bit apprehensive, because I'm like, well, how do I turn this into a secure thing? Like financially, I'm doing this on my own, supporting my children. Is this going to work? So I gave myself 6 months, and I'm like, well, look, I've got enough money there. If I need to kind of fall back on that, I can. I don't really want to be using up all of that money, but let's just see how this freelancing gig goes. And I got some referrals from an old boss, and it kind of just started to grow, and I started to network a bit. I still didn't really know what my brand was. Branding and marketing person. Because I was in that whole, what direction do I want to take, and all of that kind of thing. What was the work that I wanted to focus on? I didn't realize that I wanted to create a brand and marketing agency at that point. So that first year was test, see what happens. What do you like? What don't you like? And financially, it wasn't the most amazing year by any means. Always the first year in business is hard, like really, really hard. But I, was resilient and got through a lot of anxiety. It was really tough. Like, I felt really anxious for a long time. And then, the second and third years have been a lot better. Well, the third year going into my fourth is my most successful. So I think knowing that I can do this, having the confidence now to do it, and not having someone going, you can't do it. Because I knew that I always wanted to do something while I was married, but I think I said earlier that he was a bit of a traditionalist, a bit more conservative, and you've got to work hard, have a career like a normal job, and you'll be successful. That's not the case at all. I always wanted to spread my wings and do something. I'd studied twice. I've got the qualifications. I've worked at the biggest ad agencies in Brisbane. I've worked on really big campaigns for international clients. I got to a point where I'm like, oh, I can actually do this. I've got all that behind me. Having the confidence to do that now, like I felt like in the marriage I was kind of questioning that a little bit, you know, and but yeah, I felt like really held back and indirectly kind of controlled. I mean, he would never say he controlled me, but it wasn't a conscious thing, I'm sure, but in reality I did feel controlled. I didn't have the ability to build what I've built today. So yeah, lots of learnings along the way for sure, and having my own business has given me flexibility and a level of freedom. Yes, I'm working long hours every now and then, but I have the ability to clock off whenever I want. If I see that I'm having I don't have meetings on a certain day, I go, right, I'm going to the beach today.
Yeah.
So being my own boss in that sense, my kids, like that's super important for me. Having the ability to drop my kids off at school, pick them up, do some homework with them in the afternoon, help them study. You know, I will put my things aside in business to do that. And so that there are a lot of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's for them. It's being there for them and creating a future for us that is going to be amazing. It already is amazing. You know, I'm grateful for what I have. But I definitely would not be here if I hadn't have gone through the separation and divorce. So, yeah, that's the reality of it.
Yeah, beautiful. And I can just say I think you're an amazing mum. So if I'm only going to be called off a mum as you are, I'm just going to be super excited about that.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. As a mum, and most mums would say the same. You try to do your best. You know, you just try your absolute best for your kids, and sometimes you don't feel like it's good enough. But I will always strive to do my absolute best for my children.
Beautiful. Well, that is everything that I wanted to ask you today. So, first of all, thank you for that. But is there anything that you feel that I haven't touched on that you feel that you want to talk about, or, is there anything from you?
I think, I mean, not so much, not really. It's just, I think it's, I just would encourage women who are feeling a bit stuck, or like a lot of us as women, mums in particular, we are so incredibly strong. But I think if I can give any kind of advice, it would be just to let go of some of that sometimes, and give yourself some grace to sit in your feelings, you know, and ask for help, look at your life and go, where do I need support, and reach out to a family member or a friend, or if it's a counsellor or someone like, you know, yourself, Jan, or, you know, what do you need support financially? Like, I think for me anyway, I felt like I just always had to do things a certain way, and I think I felt like I had to do everything, and it's just impossible to do that. So I would say, yeah, reach out and ask for help, because, you know, you can't do everything. It is a struggle. And I would say that if I could improve or change anything about my situation, it would be just letting go. Like, I'm a perfectionist and life isn't perfect. It just cannot be. Accepting that there'll be challenges along the way. And I think that's something that I've learnt in the whole personal development stuff, is you're always going to be challenged by something in life, whether it's work, what your kids are going through, what a friend's going through, finances, family, you know, what's going on with them, health things. I'm going through some stuff now with my parents. They're getting a bit older and they've got health things. It's like, well, just understand and accept that they're going to happen. It's going to always be there, but it's your approach to it. It's your attitude towards your life that is important. Mm.
So beautifully said. Thank you. That was very powerful.
That's okay. And, you've supported me and helped me through, these challenging times. We recently had a session and, I was going through a few things at the time, and I don't let myself cry often. And those crying shower sessions are good.
Yeah.
But even like what you do really well is that you listen. You just listen and let people let it all out. Sometimes that's all you need to do is just tell someone what you're going through to feel a bit better. And that's what I would say that you do amazingly well in your sessions is you listen, you ask the right questions, and you're not forceful in your approach, which is incredible.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
That's okay.
What is important to me is that I do hold the space for my clients. I do hold the space that they need to be themselves. It is hard enough to open up as it is. So holding space and being there for them is just one of the most important things for me.
Mm. Yeah. Well, you do it very, very well.
All right. Well, I think that is it for today. Again, thank you so much for being my first guest. I am so eternally grateful for you as a person, as my first guest, as a friend, as the person that helps me with my marketing for Create Again and being my biggest cheerleader. So thank you very much. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time.
Me too.
Thanks so much, Jen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you decide you would like to work with me or would like to know a little bit more about what I do, reach out via call or message and book your 30-minute complimentary breakthrough session either through my website, createagain.com.au, my Instagram @createagain, or on Facebook @createagaincoach. I also have a private Facebook group which provides a safe space and gives you the opportunity to connect with other people that have been through a similar journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like, comment and share. I'm so grateful that you have listened today and hope to welcome you back next week. Thank you.